I'm Dr. Steve Sachs, Professor Emeritus of Counseling, Computer Applications, Office Technology, and Counseling at Los Angeles Valley College. This is an introduction to the course we'll be doing together called CAOT 82, which is actually Introduction to Microsoft Office. And I'll be telling you about that and a few other things over the next several minutes. I'll give you a little bit of my background before we get into it. I have been teaching for just under 40 years in various fields. I started out in teaching psychology, and then I went to teaching computer applications, office technology, our classes in that area. And also I was a counselor and taught counselor for a pretty long time. Also, I have had one foot in the academic world, teaching, but another foot in the real world, so to speak. I have been a computer consultant for the United States Navy, for Redken Corporation, for many public service agencies, for lots of businesses, for the homes, this is years ago, but for Home Savings and Loan Managers Group. I've been teaching for a really long time, much of it in the computer field, which is what we're doing. Our department, the department under which our class is labeled is CAOT. That actually stands for Computer Applications Office Technology. It's part of a larger department called, they just changed the name, so I'm going to read it, Computer Science Information Systems. Los Angeles Valley College changed the organization of that a couple of years ago. So Computer Science Information Systems, but we're actually going to study Office Technology, CAOT. Before I get too much further, I want to mention something to you. You might have noticed that my left eye may not open quite as much as you would expect, or the left side of my mouth may act a little weird. That's because some time ago I had something called Bell's palsy. Bell's palsy is affected by what's called the seventh cranial nerve. It's a nerve that innervates the muscles of the face, and the one that innervates the left muscles of my face got messed up for a while, and it's still healing. But it doesn't affect me cognitively. It doesn't affect my intelligence or my ability to teach, but that's what that is, so maybe you can just kind of ignore it for the rest of this. So this class is a class about Microsoft Office. Microsoft Office is the most significant software used throughout the world for businesses. It's also used for individuals, but for businesses. The sections, the portions of Microsoft Office that we will study in this class are the main ones used throughout the world. They are Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, Microsoft PowerPoint, and Microsoft Access. Let me tell you just a little bit about these. Of course, you're going to learn much more about them when you go through the class. Microsoft Word is used primarily for documents, for letters and legal documents and notes and stuff like that. It has amazing capabilities, far beyond what you might imagine. For example, today, I was helping my brother. He's not really an expert in Microsoft Word, but he uses it. He was writing this thing, and it required that he repeat the same sentence every few sentences over and over and over again, 20 or 30 or 40 times. And he called me saying, "I don't have to retype this every time, do you?" And I said, No, you don't. So once I showed him how to do it, he was able to put that same sentence in those various different places in the document in 20 or 25 times. It took about 3 seconds to do it. So that's an example of the kind of stuff you can do in Microsoft Word. The next software within Microsoft Office we're going to study is called Microsoft Excel. As a matter of fact, for Los Angeles Valley College these days, I usually teach full semester-long classes in Excel. Excel is fantastic at keeping track of data, and particularly in doing something called what-if analysis. Like if we own a bookstore and we're going to mark up all of our books 13% now instead of 11%, and the tax rate has changed to whatever, 8.6%, how much more is that going to cost per book? And if you set up Excel right, you got the answer like right away. So Excel is amazing at organizing information and doing what-if analysis. It does great graphs. It's kind of interesting. Microsoft doesn't always use the proper vocabulary for stuff. That was an interesting sound. What Microsoft calls charts are really graphs. And I think in our class you're going to kind of get into that. The third software we're going to get into is called PowerPoint. PowerPoint is used for presentations. It's like slide after slide after slide after slide, and you're going to learn enough to do a wonderfully beautiful, professional-looking PowerPoint presentation, even just in the little bit that we're going to touch on it. They're just superb presentations, and they're state-of-the-art, and most companies use PowerPoint. The last part of Microsoft Office that we're going to study in our class is called Microsoft Access. Microsoft Access is a database program, and I want to tell you that most businesses don't use it themselves. They will hire an external consultant to use it. In my external consultant work, I used it many times. Microsoft Access scares the hell out of people because they don't understand it. You will understand the basics of it. Just the basics, but you will. So Microsoft Access is called a database program, and it allows you to work with tremendous amounts of information and be very powerful in asking questions about your data. For example, let's say you worked for a grocery store and you carry 27,000 items, and you have a database that has the information about the items, and you want to know how many of carrots you sold last year from this one place with a 27% markup. And it can just give you the answer in a moment. So I'm telling you, Microsoft Access scares the hell out of people because it's much more difficult and technical than the other parts of Microsoft Office, and we're going to de-emphasize it. That means we're not going to put a lot of stress on it. As a matter of fact, in the textbook, which I'll be talking about shortly, I probably should have brought it to show you the picture, but you can find it on the web. In the textbook for Word and Excel and PowerPoint, we're going to do 2 chapters each. 2 chapters basically per week, except for the first week. I'll tell you about that in a moment. But in Access, we're just going to do 1. Because there's no way anybody's going to be an expert in Access unless you take a whole semester course on it. I've taught Access many semesters, but if you don't know a lot about it, it's not really very good to use. What you'll take away from the course is kind of knowing what it is and kind of recognizing it, but you can't be an expert. Speaking of that, we're going to study Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Access, and we're only going to be spending 1 week on most of that. In Word, I'm going to give you 2 weeks because it's the first one we study, and you're going to have a whole bunch of time. 2 weeks is a whole bunch of time in summer school to kind of get used to it. And then for Excel and for PowerPoint, you're just going to have 1 week each. You'll see, I'll explain the timing because it's summer school. And in Access, you're just going to do 1 chapter instead of 2. So the fact is, you're going to become conversant with all of those softwares, but not an outstanding expert. You just can't do that in just a couple of chapters. You're going to be good, you're going to be better than most people at your office, if you work in an office, at all of them, even though you might just do chapters in 1 week on it. But to get really super proficient, you may decide to take full semester courses in these things. So, how the class runs. This class is primarily going to be based on a textbook, which is written up in the materials I'll tell you about in a minute. Many of you have maybe already seen those materials. But a textbook, then there's going to be online training that mimics the same information that's in the textbook. And then you may have questions for me, and I may do some videos for you. So you'll have 3 sources of information, all teaching you the same stuff. So with those multiple sources, it's pretty easy to learn it at the level we're going to do that in summer school. So there's going to be online training and also online testing. All of your testing is going to be online. Of course, it's an online class. And because it's an online class, you never have to go on campus for anything. You can do it all at home or wherever you have your computer. So that's pretty good. That's a great advantage of an online-only class. The two major softwares that we're going to be using, the two major websites are called Canvas and SAM. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about them now, but when you look them up on the web, and I'll tell you how to get there, it'll become much clearer to you. But let me tell you, Canvas, C-A-N-V-A-S, is our main website for communications. For example, I will be sending out announcements, several announcements each week in Canvas about information about the class. If you decide you need to ask me questions, and I'll be very happy to answer your subject matter questions, you'll send your inquiries through Canvas. Canvas has a section where you communicate with me or with other students. So you ask, I answer. The Canvas also has the schedule for the class, the main calendar for the class. So once you get into Canvas, many of you probably have already gotten into it, but once you get into Canvas, you can see everything that's coming up. You'll see the exam dates, you'll see when the training is due, when the training for Word and from Excel and for PowerPoint and Access are available. The calendar is very useful to help you keep up with stuff that's happening. After the first week, starting the second week, at the end of the second week, you're going to be experiencing exams every weekend. You're going, oh my God, you're kidding, right? No, I'm not kidding. Let me tell you about the timing of the course. This is summer school, not a regular semester. So a regular semester lasts around 16 weeks. Now they're 16 weeks. But summer school, our summer school session is 5 weeks. So do the math. You're going to be doing 3 weeks of work every week in summer school. So it's a lot of material, very large time commitment, like 40 to 60 hours a week. Yeah, you heard me right. When you finish our class, you get the same college credit. The units are transferable to the California State University, for example. The same college credit that you would get even if you took a regular semester class. So it's the same amount of work, 16 weeks of work in 5 weeks. Please be ready for that. Also, all of the exams are on Sunday evenings, generally starting around 7 p.m., 7:15, 7:30 p.m. Pacific time. I say Pacific time because some of you will be from other countries or other parts of the country taking the class. So you need to have Sunday evenings available for tests. And when you look at that calendar inside of Canvas, you'll see that. Then there's SAM, S-A-M, SAM. SAM is the system that we use for online training and for testing. SAM has training units for every chapter in the book. And as you go through them, SAM is training you in multiple steps the same material that you're doing in the textbook. There's textbook homework. At the end of every chapter, there's stuff you have to do. But when you read all the materials I have set up in Canvas, the modules and the units, I'll tell you about them in a second. These are in Canvas. They tell you the work that you need to do in SAM and in the textbooks. The homework does not require you to do every single thing that's listed in the textbook. You're only going to do some of those things. That cuts down the load on you, but it means that each thing you do is extra important. This kind of education, computer application education, depends extremely heavily on something called time on task. It doesn't work for you simply to understand what you're studying, or to understand the reading, or to understand the online training. You actually have to do it. Very heavy research shows that doing it is what really helps you teach it. And that's why I assign homework. And the online training has you actually do it also. So we get a multiplicity of training devices to help you learn this stuff over the 5 weeks of summer school. Let's see. In terms of your interaction with me, we might do some Zoom sessions, that is live interactive sessions. It's not sure that we will, but even if we do, you're not required to participate in them. I will let you know ahead of time if we're going to have 1 or 2 or 3 or whatever. But it's purely an online class. I'd love you to participate if we have them. But you don't have to do them. Also, I have some videos I'm probably going to make available to you that I created related to our software. I may be creating some new ones. Even though you don't have to watch them, if you watch one of the videos I made or more, it'll really help you learn this stuff. It's a lot closer to a real person-to-person class. So if you see I mention videos, it's a really good idea to watch them. I did that. I want to mention again to you that in Microsoft Access, which is the hardest part of Microsoft Office, I'm only going to have you do the first chapter of 2 chapters. The textbook has 2 chapters for Word, 2 for Excel, 2 for PowerPoint, 2 for Access. You're only going to do the first one in Microsoft Access. The final exam, which is on the last day of class, is cumulative. That means that although most of the emphasis will be on Access, since I will not have tested you on that before, there still will be questions from Word and PowerPoint and Excel. So like, don't forget everything you did at the final exam, but I'll do a briefing for you. Every single exam, I'm going to provide a briefing for you in Canvas. Remember, Canvas is for communications. So I'll publish a briefing significantly before each exam that tells you a lot about it. How much time you're going to have, how many items, the kinds of things that you should know. So it's all to help you be very prepared for it. Also, there's a practice exam that I created in SAM that lets you learn the testing interface so you can become familiar with it and it's comfortable, and when you take your first real test, your first exam, it'll be, oh yeah, I've seen this interface, and it won't be daunting for you. It'll feel very comfortable. So I'm going to provide that for you. What else? What is that? Okay, so I've told you a bunch of stuff about the class. I want you to have fun. Yeah, there's a lot to do. It's summer school, 5 weeks to do 16 weeks of stuff. But I really want you to have fun. If you have questions, ask me, send me questions inside of Canvas. I will answer the questions. I check the emails from there at least every couple of days. There's even a Canvas app that you can use to keep you advised of when I put up announcements. Now, one very last thing. The sooner you can get into Canvas and the sooner you can start looking at my introductory stuff. I have a syllabus, I have 2 units, well, I should say 2 major sections that tell you all about the class, tons of detail about the class, about the textbook, about grades, about all that stuff. And the sooner you can do that, the better. Man, if you can do all of that stuff before the first day of the semester, you're just going to fly through the class. Please, if you see this video, which I'm going to release several days before the class actually starts, don't wait for the beginning of class. Don't wait for the first day. The more you can work through that stuff, the more prepared you will be, and the easier everything will be. I want this to be easy for you, but more importantly, I want you to learn this stuff. I want you to be effective with it. I want you to feel comfortable with all the software except maybe Access. I told you it's really complicated and you're not going to be really expert at that. That's just reality. But I think this class is going to be great for you, and I'll be there with you. You know, communicate with me if you have subject matter questions or you have concerns, and we'll get through this together, and you will be stunned at the end of the semester about how much you learned in such a short period of time. You're really making an investment in yourself, and I respect you for it. And I'm gonna be there with you. Enjoy it. Good luck. Bye for now.